Interesting. And oh yeah, should I bring up how great of a story this is, right? It's awesome. But why hasn't he been interviewed? Why at the game was he not interviewed at least once? I will not, and let me repeat this, I will not be speaking on stuff like this anymore, and I know you guys like the videos, but I cannot do it because of this reason alone. Stanley Meyer. Now I know what you're sitting there saying, Matt, who is Stanley Meyer? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the part 2 to the Damar Hamlin conspiracy theory. Before we get into things, and trust me, I want to jump straight into things just like you guys do as well, but I have some very important things to say. Important thing number 1. When I was making the last video, I honestly expected to get way more backlash. I thought all of you guys were going to say, Matt, you're crazy, you shouldn't believe in this, and all kinds of stuff like that. I full on expected to get a lot of backlash, but hey, that's what happens sometimes. When you voice your opinion like I do, not everybody's going to agree with you, and that's okay. But, and I have a big but, that was not the case whatsoever. You guys agreed with me. And I'm not gonna lie, it did shock me that a lot of people out there, I don't want to say you're woke because I think that's a weird word to use, but you're open-minded. And I think that's awesome because people who are open-minded, like a lot of us in our community, me, you, anybody watching this, some people may say we're crazy. I don't think it's crazy whatsoever. And like I told you guys in the last video, I'm going to say it again. Me, 5 or 6 years ago, I would not even entertain the idea of a conspiracy theory. If somebody brought up a conspiracy theory with UFOs, aliens, John F. Kennedy, anything like that, I'd say, dude, you're crazy. I'm not having this conversation. Just shut up. But the older I get, the more I'll hear out these conversations. I'm not saying I'm going to believe every single conspiracy theory, but we can have the debate. We can talk about it. Whereas Matt Be Great 5 years ago, I wouldn't have talked about it. I would have brushed it aside as a coincidence, and that goes for anything. But sometimes I feel like there's too many coincidences in this world. So that is important thing number 1. It is awesome to see that you guys are as open-minded as I am as well. Some of you may be more open-minded, some of you may not be, and that's cool. Important thing number 2 is I have to be very, and I mean very careful. This is now my second time talking about this subject and manner. I think some of you are taking me serious when I say this, but I think a lot of you think I'm trying to troll, I'm trying to joke around. I'm not. If I continue to talk about stuff like this, they will come after me. I'm not joking. I mean that 100%, and I will be 100% transparent with all of you. It does scare me a little bit, and I am nervous talking about it. Whoa. Hold on. I know what you're all sitting there saying. Yo, Matt, who are you talking about? Who is they? When I say quote-unquote they, I'm being vague for a reason. We don't know who they are. Most people also say the higher-ups, and I say that as well. These are the guys in the black suits and the glasses that whenever something is not going their way or somebody becomes woke or somebody invents an invention that'll save the world, they come in and they shut it down. Now that I think about it, and it just came to my mind, do some of y'all not find it fishy that we found a cure for COVID in, what was it, a year? But we still can't find a cure for cancer? It's 2023. The technology we have, it's through the roof, but yet we can't solve cancer. That's one of the biggest conspiracy theories out there, that we have the cure for cancer and we can solve it. We just don't want to. And you know why we don't want to, right? If we cure cancer, do you know how much money all these doctors and people are going to lose? We're talking about billions of dollars. It doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint to cure it because then people are going to lose jobs, people are going to lose money, and like I've told you guys before, money runs the world. But anyways, getting back on track here, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. The higher-ups will come after me. You can only speak on these things so much. You got to think about this. I would say we got a pretty big community on this channel. With that being said, let me ask you a question. Do you really think the higher-ups out there want us, a huge community and a huge channel, talking about this stuff, giving it more exposure? No. They know how powerful influence is, and they're not going to come after you guys. They're going to come after the guy running this thing, and that's me. They'll shut this thing down within a heartbeat. They'll shut this down within a couple of hours because I'm the one giving out this information. I'm the one bringing it to light. Although you guys are watching it, they're not coming after you because if they shut me down, that cures everything else. The higher-ups are watching this video. It's not going to fly under the radar. But here's the thing. More than likely, they're going to give me a pass because they're going to look at all my other videos and go, okay, this guy, he talks about college football, college basketball. He's not a serious threat, and I'm really not a threat. But here's where things could start to get tricky if I continue to talk about situations like this. And not only that, they're reading your guys' comments. If you don't think they're reading your comments, you're out of your mind. Because they're going to watch the video and go, okay, let's see if these people agree with him. Because if they don't agree with him, there's no reason to go after him. And when they're reading all of your guys' comments going, okay, they're actually believing what he's saying, that's when things could get serious. So to the higher up person that was sent this video video and you're watching it deciding on whether you should attack me or not, look, man, I'm not a threat. This is the last time I'm talking about this situation. Leave me alone, man. I'm not trying to expose the shady stuff that's going on behind the scenes in the world. I'm just trying to talk about some football, man. Speaking of football, I say we get into the football talk. Ironically enough, I'm friends with a nurse. I guess that would be her label. I'm sure it's something else, like a nurse practitioner or something. Anyways, she's a nurse, and she takes care of people like this where they got CPR and they got to stay in the hospital for numerous days. I called her up 2 to 3 hours before I filmed this video, and I was like, hey, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I asked her, whenever somebody almost passes away and they have to get CPR, like what happened with Damar Hamlin, how long do you normally keep them even if they recover within a couple of days? And she told me at bare minimum, if you nearly pass away like Damar Hamlin did, you're staying in there for 14 to 21 days. 14 to 21 days. Why is that important? Because Damar Hamlin left the hospital. They cleared him after 7 days. Now, I don't know if some of you also found that fishy, but I thought that was way too fast. 7 days. Let me repeat that. 7 days after nearly passing away, and he's free to leave. I thought that was fishy myself, so that's why I made the phone call, and she said at bare minimum, you're staying for 14 to 21 days. She said normally, I can't remember how many days, but she said most people are staying for 20-something days. I'm sure the rules are different for every different hospital and every different state and every part in the country, but I feel like that would be normal practice for everyone else. To go on top of that, I want to bring this up. I may offend some people, and I don't mean to, but if it comes off that way, I do apologize. That's not my intent. I was watching the Bengals and Bills game live as I was working on a video. I can't remember exactly what day it was on, and I saw the injury happen live. I didn't see it on a replay or on Twitter. I saw it live. And my immediate reaction to it as I was watching it live and unfold, I was like, okay, this is a serious situation. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but I think he'll be okay. Let me know in the comment section if he was the same way. I never believed for a second that he was actually going to pass away. I didn't believe it. I knew they would bring him back to life, and I knew he would be okay. I don't know why I believed it. I just did. I mean this respectfully. I hope it don't come off in a bad way. I had a hard time believing he was actually going to pass away. And it's an awesome story that he didn't pass away, but I say that to say this. All that craziness that happened on the field, he didn't move. He had to have CPR for, I can't remember how long it was. What was it? 7, 8, 9 minutes? He had to have CPR just to bring him back to life for 9 minutes straight. Yet, 7 days in the hospital and you clear him to leave. 7 days. That's it. I can't get over it. It doesn't make sense to me. And I'll explain why. You would think a hospital, when they have an NFL, NBA, or professional athlete, they're going to be extra cautious. For example, if they let me, an average person, leave after 14 or 20 days, then for Damar Hamlin, an NFL athlete, you'd probably think they'd go, okay, this guy's an NFL athlete, pro athlete. We don't want a bad look. We want to be cautious. He's got to stay here for 30 days. Because the last thing that hospital wants is to let him go early, something crazy happens, and now they got bad reviews and whatnot. Whereas if you let Matt Be Great go early and I pass away, who cares? It's Matt Be Great. It's an average person. You're not going to have the NFL or NBA fan base attacking that hospital. So that's a little weird to me because he's not going to be playing the rest of the season, so why clear him to leave so early? Just keep him in there. But hey, it is what it is. Fast forward in time, the Bills, they get demolished and lose to the Bengals on this recent, what was it, Sunday or Saturday? Yeah. Check out this comment though. That's why they had the Bills lose, to put the focus on other teams. The last thing they want is this story coming back up this week and then again at the Super Bowl. Oh, that is a great point. Because going back to the original video, we talked about how they were hiding him and there was never a clear view of his face at the game. We got all these high technical and $50,000, $100,000 cameras, but yet we can't zoom in past the snow. We can zoom in on all the other people, but for Damar Hamlin, we can't even get a visual of his face. And when the camera is working and it is a clear visual, it's from behind him or the side. Interesting. And also, like I told you, he's wearing a Pooh Shiesty mask indoors. The only people who wear Pooh Shiesty mask indoors are people from New York City and George Pickens. That's it. And to go on top of that, I've had many of you reach out to me and say that Damar Hamlin is an extrovert. He would want to talk to the camera. He'd want to show his face. Interesting. And oh yeah, should I bring up how great of a story this is, right? It's awesome. But why hasn't he been interviewed? Why at the game was he not interviewed at least once? That's crazy to me because think about it. Whenever the starting quarterback wins the Super Bowl, what's the first thing that happens? He gets interviewed. Whenever something crazy happens in sports, we interview people. But for some reason, we're not interviewing the guy that everybody wants to see, Damar Hamlin. If you want to believe that was actually Damar Hamlin at the game, that's fine. Me personally, I ain't buying it. And now this leads us up to our current date. Do I personally, Matt B. Great, think Damar Hamlin is dead like everybody else does? No, I do not. I don't think he's passed away. I think he's in the hospital somewhere recovering. Another question I need to answer is, and I see a lot of people saying this, I saw it in the comment section of the last video, is, okay, if this is fake and they brought a fake Damar Hamlin in, why would they do it? What's the point? That's a great question and I have a great answer. The NFL just this last year alone has been getting a ton of backlash because of what happened with Tua, concussions going on, and just craziness. It seems like the past year or two we're seeing so many signs of CTE. I mean, example number one, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown went from a humble young man who had a great career going. He gets hit bad one time, and now I don't even know what he's acting like. I don't know how I would describe it. It's not even unreal. It is sad to see. So that's going on. You got the thing with Tua where many people think he should never pick up a football again, and just so much more I could go over. And to put the cherry on top, we nearly had a guy pass away on the field. I say that to say this. It's not been a good look for the NFL because I see a lot of these parents now. I've seen them talk saying, hey, I don't want my kids playing football. That's dangerous. And it's always been a dangerous game. We know the dangers, but now it actually feels like parents are not allowing their kids to play. And I'm going to say this. Do you understand how much negative feedback the NFL would get if Damar Hamlin did pass away in that game? Although it's not the NFL's fault, it's nobody's fault, it's a freak accident, it's still not a good look. So with that being said, the NFL's like, okay, this is bad, we're getting a lot of negative press. Let's have this fake Damar Hamlin show up to the game so we can show these people, hey, it was a freak accident and he's fine. That's the only reason I feel like the NFL would try to cover this up and make up this fake Damar Hamlin. I'm sure most of you know this. The NFL and the NBA, they're shady. What was a crazy conspiracy years ago? I'm talking about years and years ago when the Lakers, I think they were playing the Kings, and apparently the game was rigged. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think the Kings were up in the series 3-2, and in Game 6, the refs called every foul possible on the Kings so the Lakers would win. And the reason for that is because it'd be bad for ratings if the Sacramento Kings made the finals over the Lakers. And another conspiracy that comes to my mind also years and years ago is when they rigged the lottery. I'm not talking about the actual lottery. I'm talking about the NBA lottery when they rolled the balls into the big tub or big circle, and that's why they don't do it anymore. I mean, we could sit up here for 4 hours just talking about conspiracies behind the NFL and NBA. Bottom line is, it's shady. I will not, and let me repeat this, I will not be speaking on stuff like this anymore, and I know you guys like the videos, but I cannot do it because of this reason alone. Stanley Meyer. Now I know what you're sitting there saying, Matt, who is Stanley Meyer? That's a great question, my friend. Well, Stanley Meyer is the individual that created a car that could run off of water. Mr. Stanley Meyer had one of the greatest inventions of all time. He invented a car that could run on a little bit of water, and it cost basically nothing. We're talking about just put a gallon of water in a car, and you're good for a week. And weirdly enough, what do you know? People who owned all these oil rigs and companies, they were threatening him to shut it down. And oh yeah, can't forget to mention this, he was offered millions of dollars to throw away the evidence. Although all these companies were threatening him and offering him millions of dollars, he said he didn't care whatsoever. He's still continuing on with his invention. And well, what do you know? On a random day when he was having lunch with some people, he was drinking cranberry juice, and as soon as he took his first sip, he was going crazy, holding his hands around his neck, and he said, word for word, quote unquote, they poisoned me. Yeah, pretty crazy, right? And notice how he said they. Those were his last words, and here's something really fascinating. A week after Stanley's death, his dune buggy, which I referred to as a car, it was stolen. Now, who do you think stole his dune buggy? Come on now. It was the higher-ups. For that story alone, this is why I refuse to speak on stuff like this, because I don't want to end up that way. Man, these guys would take me out in a heartbeat and nobody will ever know. And that is why I've told you guys, if there's a 3 to 4 day stretch where I'm not posting on YouTube, you better be doing some searching. Something happened to Matt B. Great, and I'll leave it at that. I know this video is all over the place. It is what it is. Let me know your thoughts down below. But